Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with Edge on Regenerative Medicine Show. I am excited today to have Dr. Mark Lindholm. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm so happy to be here, and hello to everybody on that's tuning in later.
Exactly. So, everyone, check this out. I need everybody to share this. Why? Because this is very, very important. The title here is combating the corona with boosting your immune system, which is something everybody needs to be doing. And not only that, but Dr. Mark is out of Elkhart, Indiana, with Natural Health Family Chiropractic. If you want to take a look at his website, you can go to nhfchiropractic.com. Here's the cool thing. Dr. Mark just wrote a book, which we're going to be getting into. First, we're going to hear about a story, and he just wrote a really cool book on CBD. It's called A Doctor's Perspective on CBD Science, Success Stories, and Changed Lives. We'll have the link on here. And here's another cool thing right here at the bottom. One of the cool things we're going to be doing too is make sure you stay tuned till the end. We have live testimonials of people that Dr. Mark has helped change their lives. And speaking of changing lives, make sure you guys share this, because one video can change one person's life, even if you're not in pain. So remember, sharing is caring. Thank you so much, Dr. Mark, for being here. Tell us your story of how you got into what you do and why you do, and talk to us.
Yeah, sure. So again, thanks for being here. It's an honor, to be here. So yeah, I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for a little over 27 years. And, I'm a Christian, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. Like, God has a plan for us. And especially, now that I've been in practice for a long time, I can look back at my life and see so many things that weren't coincidences, but God incidences. And I'm going to talk about two of those today. And one is how I became a chiropractor. So it's kind of a long story, but the abbreviated version is when I was really young, when I was about 5, I struggled with a really serious health issue. My parents took me to multiple different doctors, couldn't find an answer. And finally, out of desperation, the doctors sent me to the hospital. They ran some tests. And kind of out of desperation, my parents had never used a chiropractor, but somebody that works with my father had recommended, you ought to take your son to my chiropractor. And my parents, not only had they never used a chiropractor, but my problem was I had these really severe stomach pains. And my parents thought, well, I thought chiropractors worked on your back. Like, how, they didn't understand. They thought it was all about back pain. But, we went to the hospital and they did these tests. They couldn't tell us anything. And out of desperation, we drove by this chiropractor's clinic. She got us in, right then. Again, just that alone is a miracle. We didn't have an appointment. She examined my spine and explained to my parents I had some problems in my spine, what chiropractors call subluxations, in the middle part of my back. And she said, that she explained to my parents the nerves from that area come around to help to control your stomach. And there's a good chance it's causing the stomach to be hyperactive, secrete too much acid. And so I don't remember a lot of this because I was 5, but I remember my first adjustment. And I remember the next day waking up and feeling so much better, like a dramatic improvement.
You were 5.
Have you felt that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the really ironic thing is that the hospital called back the next day and they said, we apologize to my parents that they told us there was nothing wrong with you, with me, because the test results showed I had some ulcers or an ulcer in my stomach. And they wanted me to come back to the hospital. They were going to start some medication, some treatment. And I had gotten so much improvement just from this first adjustment that my parents said, I think we're going to continue with what we're doing. We took him to a chiropractor. And so that's, how I got started with chiropractic. But then it didn't just change my life and my health, but then chiropractic became a big part of my whole family's health. And so we all started going to a chiropractor to stay well. When I was young, I was very involved in athletics and football and wrestling, and I saw a chiropractor regularly. My mom ended up actually working as an office manager for a chiropractor in town. And I was very young, probably about 13, when I decided I wanted to be a chiropractor.
Wow. So would you say what tipped you over to become a chiropractor was your mom being a manager there and maybe talking with the doctor and kind of being around that? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, maybe a little. I think it was an accumulation of all of that. For me, it was just a natural part of, what we did, because I had started so young and I saw the benefits. But definitely having my mom work in that arena was probably, important. I actually, got a lot of encouragement from my parents. because I decided so young that I want to do that when like I said, I was only, like a freshman in high school. I started taking like anatomy and physiology classes as soon as
Wow.
I could in high school. I actually went around and visited like almost any chiropractor that would let me come into their office and like shadow them for a few hours, trying to figure out which school was best to go to and all that. So by the time when I got to college, I did my undergraduate work as quickly as I could. Like I took as many hours as they'd let me. I went to school over the summer. So, and then chiropractic school, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's like medical school. So it's, 4 academic years, but I went all year around and got through as quickly as I could. So I was really young. I was only like 24 when I graduated from chiropractic college,
Wow.
because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was so excited to get out. And now what's really, like wonderful is that my oldest daughter is actually in school right now to be a chiropractor. She's about halfway through going to school at Palmer College, where my alma mater. So
Awesome. Well, hey, that's a great college for one thing. Top notch. That's awesome, man. That's a great story. I love how the fact that I bet your daughter was inspired by you.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I hope
a little bit, just a little bit.
I tell people I always wanted my kids to do something that they really loved and was fulfilling for them. But I used to kind of half kiddingly tell all my kids when they were little, I used to say, you can do whatever you want with your life. You can be whatever you want right after you graduate from Palmer College. Then you can do whatever you want. And my daughter took me seriously, apparently.
That's awesome. Hey, you brainwashed her. Good way though. I'm just playing. On another note, let's maybe just a little bit maybe touch on, because I would really love to talk about your book.
Yeah.
But the next thing I'd like to really get into is, how we're hearing everything about the corona. Like, well, how can we combat this corona with keeping our immune system? Would that actually help? Or
Absolutely. So I think that's really important that, I collaborate with a lot of medical doctors in my area, and medicine is really important for treating disease. But with viruses, there's really not a lot of medicines we have. That's one of the problems with this, unique COVID-19 disease. And so it's all about boosting your immune system. The backstory to this is that a lot of people don't understand how powerful our bodies are. The natural state of our body is to be exposed to viruses. There's viruses everywhere. We get exposed to viruses, on a daily basis. And normally our body encounters them, builds immunity, and, we don't even know it. We don't even get sick, so to speak. So it's all about boosting your immune system. We talk about the difference between the virulence of the disease, so how strong the disease is. And granted, I'm not, underestimating, how virulent this disease is. It's a serious thing people need to pay attention to. But it's such more important. The chiropractic approach is to look at the susceptibility of the host. So how vulnerable are you? And I'd say the absolute best thing people can do, and the thing they should really put a lot of effort toward right now, is boosting their immunity, because it looks like this disease, this virus, is so contagious that, all the things we're doing of social distancing are important, and that can flatten the curve. But it looks like the vast majority of us are going to be exposed to this virus. And so the really important thing is to strengthen your immunity. And so I can go through a number of things, if you'd like me to list off, that I think are really important. So the first thing is, and I might be a little biased as a chiropractor, but see a chiropractor. If you're not already under chiropractic care, get checked for, get your spine checked. And the reason that's so important is that literally the idea of chiropractic is that just the way our body works is the nerves go from the brain through the spine out to your body, and then from the body back to the brain. The cool thing about being a chiropractor now in 2020 is the research just over the last 6 or 8 years has really shown when we adjust the spine, you can literally see the brain functions differently. They did a study through the Australian Chiropractic College, and there's a researcher there, a PhD researcher, Dr. Heidi Havoc, and she has done some studies where they used EEGs and functional MRIs that show when you adjust somebody, literally the brain functions differently. So this ties into our immune system, because the brain and your nervous system is literally how the immune system functions. It's how it communicates. As a matter of fact, most researchers, and you can Google this, like just look up the neuroendocrine immune system. Like it's really all one thing. Your nervous system, your immune system, and your hormones all work together. So if your nervous system isn't functioning optimally, you cannot possibly have an optimally functioning immune system. So that's the number one thing. But then some things that are pretty basic but are super important, like getting enough sleep. Even if you just decrease your sleep by an hour or two a night, it can really weaken your immune system. Getting lots of fresh air. Today actually in Elkhart, we have like a permacloud during the winter, but it's actually supposed to be 60 degrees and sunny today. So get out in the sunshine. If you live someplace further south, you can actually get vitamin D from exposure to the sunshine, which is super important for your immune system. Eating healthy. Now is the time to get, eating lots of fruits and vegetables, drinking tons of water, being well hydrated, and trying to decrease stress. So get some moderate exercise. Over the top intense exercise can kind of weaken your immune system, but regular moderate to mild exercise is super important. So those things are baseline things, but baseline things that make a huge difference. And then nutritionally, specifically, I'd recommend if you live someplace further north, like north of the Mason-Dixon line, you should probably be taking a vitamin D supplement. Because like I said, you can get that from sun, but like where we live in northern Indiana, the sun is really only intense enough like June, July, and August. And even then, a lot of people are working inside where they're not getting sun. So that's vitamin D is really important, D3. And you only need about 1,000 to 2,000 IUs a day for most people. Some people need more. So if you really want to be specific about it, you can get a blood test. You can have your doctor do a blood test and they can actually check your vitamin D levels. And then also vitamin C and zinc. Specifically, well, we've known for a long time, there's been numerous studies showing that helps with viral infections. Like people can get over like a cold, which is a coronavirus, a different kind of coronavirus, in like half the time. The studies have shown if they're on high dose of vitamin C and zinc. Specifically with the coronavirus, there's some intriguing research going on. There's a clinical trial actually going on through Wuhan University where they were using 1,200 milligrams of vitamin C. They were doing it intravenously, but it's the clinical trial is not complete yet, but so far it's showing promise. And then I actually posted on my clinic Facebook page, there's actually 3 hospitals that I reported on in New York that are supposedly doing the same protocol with people that are hospitalized with more severe COVID-19 symptoms and finding success. And then I would also do really anything to boost your immune system. So like echinacea, colloidal silver, garlic, all those kind of things that have no downside, they're not going to hurt you, are probably not a bad idea right now.
Would you say the vitamin C is not all equal? I know that for a fact. You can get vitamin C at Walmart, Target, order online, but how do we know which is the purest vitamin C that we can purchase? Because a lot of us are buying fillers. We get something with the 2 or 3 strands and they put vitamin C on it. And you got to drink a whole bottle just to even get it one pure capsule. What would you recommend? Do you sell anything that people can buy from you, they can call, or do you recommend somewhere where they can order that?
Yeah, we carry some really high quality supplements, but even with me being a doctor, like I have to vet every single supplement we carry. So I spend a lot of time researching, because you're right. I mean, supplements are really important, but there's trashy ones out there. And then there's ones that just don't have good quality control. So we specifically use several really good companies. One of them is called Metagenics. One's Orthomolecular. We use some Apex products and some of those, honestly, like the general public doesn't have access to. They're sold through doctors' offices, but we sell those through my clinic. But just in general, some things you want to look for is if it's a high quality supplement company, generally it will be GMP certified. That stands for good manufacturing practices. And so what this is a third party like certification. And so if they have GMP certification, it probably tells you that company is paying attention to quality. So that's a good thing to look for. Vitamin C, there's different forms. So you can get it from rose hips. You can get it from actual ascorbic acid. You can get it with flavonoids in it. And some of those things can make a big difference. So the flavonoids seem to, like there's a product we carry called C-Flav through the Orthomolecular company that has vitamin C, but the flavonoids have been shown to actually open up your body to absorbing more of the zinc. And zinc and vitamin C are like a 1-2 punch that really work well together. Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to let everybody know, hey guys, if you would like to purchase some of those, you can call Dr. Mark's office. We have the phone number on the screen. And from there, tell us about your book. I know that your book is, it's called A Doctor's Perspective on CBD Science, Success Stories, and Changed Lives. Tell us about that. How did you before you tell us about this awesome book,
how did you get, what sparked the interest to write this?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back. It's actually a similar story to how I got started in chiropractic. So it's based on my own personal experience. So if you had asked me a couple of years ago, do you think you'll ever be selling a CBD product or write a book about CBD? I would have said no. And honestly, I was not only would I have said I didn't have interest, but I would have said, well, isn't CBD just marijuana? Like I was really ignorant. And I think we should talk a minute about the difference, not right now, but make sure we come back to that, talking about the difference between CBD and marijuana. But what happened is I had a personal injury. We actually were expanding my clinic. We have 3 chiropractors at our clinic and 3 massage therapists, and we needed to like double the size of our clinic. And part of the construction we were doing is that one of my hobbies is I love to garden. And there was this Japanese maple tree in the front of the clinic we were renovating. And they were coming in the next day with the bulldozers to like rip off part of the building, and they were going to just destroy this tree. And I didn't want it to go to waste. So I was out there with a shovel trying to dig this tree out. And one of these vigorous jabs, I jab into the root, and I think I hit a rock. I don't know if I hit the wood or the root, but anyway, I felt this pop in my wrist, and I thought, ooh, that's not good. And by later that evening, next day, it was swollen. It was excruciating. I believe that I ruptured one of the ligaments in my wrist. And long story short was that I suffered with this injury for about a month. I did everything. I have access to a lot of doctors in my area. So I was, as a chiropractor, I had not taken drugs in literally years, but it was so bad. I was taking anti-inflammatories. After I tried all the natural things, I was having laser treatments done on my wrist. I was getting it adjusted. Anyway, it got to the point where it was not only a very physically painful injury, but I was struggling through trying to work. If you know anything about a chiropractor, we use our hands and wrists all day long. And I have a high volume practice, so I treat a lot of patients. So out of desperation, I tried a CBD product, and I was amazed. Literally within, by like the next day after the first time I used it, it was like
Wow.
80% better. Over the course of about a month, I was able to completely rehabilitate my wrist. But prior to trying the CBD, I was starting to have conversations with my wife about that I might have to retire. I might have to do something where I wasn't actually physically treating patients, because I thought, even if this heals, I'll like never be the same. I'll never be able to adjust people. And there's an art to adjusting. It's something not everybody can do. And so that's how I got started. But then it was more than that. Then, like I said, I vet all the products we carry at my clinic. And so right after I had this personal experience, I attended a seminar that I go to almost every year. It's in Southern California. It's called CalJam. And I go to it partially because it's in sunny Southern California in January. And I hadn't really paid attention to who the speakers were, but I attended that year right after I had this personal experience. And the 3 keynote speakers were talking about the endocannabinoid system, CBD or cannabinoids. One of them was talking about CBD and cancer. One of them was talking about CBD and just immune function, which we should get into. And then one of them was talking about CBD and pain. So I had all this information. It really kind of validated my own personal experience. So then I started researching. I spent literally over a year looking at all the PubMed data out there. And that's what led to writing my book, A Doctor's Perspective on CBD. And there's thousands of studies out there showing the benefits of CBD. But the problem is, for most people, reading the clinical National Institute of Health kind of studies are like reading a foreign language. So the main objective of my book was to take that information and make it understandable. And then it's interspersed with testimonials of patients that I met through this process, and the people that I personally treated and the results that they've gotten. So that's what led to writing the book. And then it also led to me researching like what's the highest quality product. So we were talking about like, how do you know if vitamin C is good? I would say with CBD, it's even more important that there's a lot of really downright fraudulent CBD products, because this market is so booming. There's a lot of interest in it. So, but then there's also people that are trying to put out a good product, but they're a mom and pop kind of a thing. They're literally producing CBD like, in the back room of their health food store. And so they might not have any quality control. So I really I was looking for the best quality product, and I landed on a company called the Zalise company, and they have a product line called Ultracell. So yeah, that's the story about how I got started.
Wow. So you mentioned about cancer and stuff like that, so has this actually helped people that have had cancer? And if so, how does that normally work? I mean, is it like a cream and you just put it on you?
Right. So first of all, a little disclaimer is that I'm not making any medical claims. I'm not claiming to treat or cure cancer. You shouldn't uh, take what I'm saying now as like a doctor-patient relationship. I'm just giving you information. So in my book, there's a whole chapter on cancer where, again, I'm not making medical claims, but I'm just talking about the research of what it shows. So there's studies that show and maybe right when I answer this question, we should take a step back and talk about just what the endocannabinoid system is, because that
would be great.
Makes this whole thing make more sense. But there's studies showing that stimulating the endocannabinoid system actually upregulates your immune system to actually detect and destroy cancer cells through something called apoptosis. And apoptosis is like pre-programmed cell death. So kind of like I mentioned, our body is designed to encounter viruses and build immunity. Our body every single day is detecting and destroying abnormal cells that are precancerous or could become cancerous through our immune system. So the phytocannabinoids, or the plant cannabinoids found in hemp, which is the best source, upregulate this endocannabinoid system and upregulate our immune function to detect and destroy cancer cells. There's other studies showing that there's other benefits of it, that there's studies showing that it can prevent the spread of cancer, it can, or the metastasis of cancer. So specifically in my book, I look at research that has to do with breast cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer. Some of these many of these are preclinical. And what that means is they're done on, animals, done on mice, on rats, those kinds of things. So we still have a lot of work to do, but the preliminary studies are showing real promise.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. So you've been using this for about 2 years, correct?
Yeah, in my clinic, personally, I use it every day. As a matter of fact, I believe in the next 10 years that's why we're going to see the major financial not indicators, major financial predictors like Forbes, Fortune magazine. They're predicting that this whole CBD industry is going to grow into some people are saying $2 trillion industry in the next 10 years. And I believe the reason is that when people understand, and all this, the research that we're starting now, some of the laws you might changed in 2015, but then especially in 2018, at the end of the year, December of 2018, some federal laws changed that allowed universities to study hemp, because prior to that, they were lumping it in with marijuana. It was considered illegal in most states. So when this research comes out and people understand, I think the vast majority of people are going to be using it every single day just to promote health.
You know what? I agree with you 100%. And I'm not here to get like all religious, but what's very interesting, I love to read history and I love to read the Bible. And they're so funny because in the Bible, there's so many nuggets. And I cannot find the scripture in my mind, but there's a scripture where it says that the healing is in the earth. And it just brings me back when you said that. It's like, come on, man. I mean, there's so much things. And what I'm noticing, what's hurting us and damaging us is the man-made stuff.
Right. And that's interesting that you say that, because that's one of the things about hemp, is that hemp is actually one of the oldest cultivated plants. I mean, we have evidence that, at least 8,000 to 10,000 years, humans have been cultivating and consuming hemp and using it medicinally, using it as food, also using the fiber to make, clothing and baskets and all that kind of stuff. So, to put that in perspective, let's just say it's 8,000 years, but there's really good research that's 10,000 years. That's like 6,000 years before Christ was on Earth.
That's awesome.
That's a long history. As a matter of fact, when we talk about the endocannabinoid system, a lot of the endocannabinoid researchers believe that part of the reason that we need to upregulate our system with a phyto or a plant cannabinoid is that we're designed to take this in. We've co-evolved with the hemp plant. So, and this is not unusual in human biology, that like if we don't get enough iron, our body will develop anemia and will become ill. If we don't get enough vitamin C, you can develop rickets, which killed millions of sailors before the British realized that they had to supplement the sailors with limes and lemons to keep them from dying. So it's not unusual that we have to get things like this in our diet.
Wow, that's amazing. It's So the next thing I'd like to talk about, and I actually had a doctor text me right now, and he's saying, can us doctors get this into our own offices. And
Right. So yeah, so that's a whole nother thing. Honestly, I got into this because of the personal experience I had. And then I wanted to get it in, I wanted to treat patients with it or have my patients have access to it. And I was blown away by the clinical response with my patients. That's why part of the title is Science Success Stories and Changed Lives, because of the lives that I saw that were changed. But another whole side of this, if I put on like my business hat as a clinic owner, is that there's a huge demand for this. When I placed my first order of the Ultracell products, I made a little mistake. So I placed the order and I put out on my clinic social media that we were getting the CBD products and they were coming in. But what I did that the night I literally like placed the order. I forgot that it was going to take a week for these products to come in. So the next day I'm treating patients and my office staff comes to me, which they never interrupt me when I'm treating patients. They were kind of frazzled and they said, Dr. Lindholm, we don't know what to do. And I said, well, what's wrong? They said, literally the phone has been ringing off the hook. People want to buy the CBD product. And they said, there's literally a line of people at the front desk and they want to buy it. What should we do? And I said, well, yeah, it's not coming in for a week. I said, well, have them pay today, tell them they can prepay. And then when it comes in at the end of the week, we'll call and they can come and pick it up. I pre-sold my entire first order in 3 days before it even arrived.
So, yeah. Click it again. I need more.
Right. So, and it's really been kind of nonstop since then. The the clinical benefits as well as the financial benefits have been huge. So, if people just contact me through my website, I'm a distributor through the Zalise company. So, kind of like Metagenics and Orthomolecular and all the other products. It's a great way that people can involve. So if they go to cbddrmark.com, and so that's drmark.com, there's information there. They can also email me through that and ask questions. I'd be happy to connect with them.
So also, like say if somebody has like pain in their back where it just kind of comes once in a while, or neuropathy, is that known? I know you can't say yes, it will, because we all know how that works. But has that been known to help people with neuropathy and aches and stuff like that?
Absolutely. So again, I'm not claiming that, that it's a miracle cure, but I have a whole chapter in my book on pain. One of the main modes of the way the endocannabinoid system works, or a full spectrum hemp oil or CBD product that has an effect, is that it's very anti-inflammatory, but it's also analgesic. So it actually works. There's some studies in my book that I go over where they show that it works both at the end site of inflammation, much like anti-inflammatory medications would, to decrease the pain, but it also, almost like a narcotic, works in the brain to help with pain too. And now might be a good time to kind of take a step back and talk a little bit about the endocannabinoid system. Yeah. So the reason we see such amazing results, so pain, inflammation, helping with sleep, which is huge. A huge thing is helping people to relax, especially right now when everybody's got so much extra stress. So there's a lot of people that notice a huge effect on their anxiety levels when they upregulate the endocannabinoid system. But anyway, the reason we see all of these benefits is because we have our own endogenous cannabinoid system. That just means our self-made cannabinoid system. And so one of the things that's almost laughable about the fact that I used to be kind of anti-CBD is that we all make our own CBD, basically. We make our own endogenous cannabinoids. The two that are most studied are anandamide and 2-AG. And this endocannabinoid system and the endocannabinoids are a pretty recent discovery. They were just discovered in the 1990s. And the main researcher and his team, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam out of Israel, studied this, and they're the ones that actually discovered THC first. So the chemical found in marijuana that makes you high. And then after discovering that, they found that we have receptors for these cannabinoids, these plant cannabinoids in our body, and they discovered the endocannabinoid system. So the even more amazing thing about this is not only do we make our own cannabinoids, but we have receptors in every system of our body. So especially our brain, our nervous system, our immune system are very richly endowed with the CB1 and CB2 receptors, but literally our musculoskeletal system, our reproductive system, our hormonal system, our endocrine system, our cardiovascular system, they all have receptors. And the cannabinoids, both phytocannabinoids and endocannabinoids, bind to these receptors. But the even cooler thing about it, you can kind of think of it like a hormonal system. But the cool thing about the endocannabinoid system is these cannabinoids are what the researchers refer to as the engine of homeostasis. And homeostasis means balance. So they have a balancing effect on the function. So why is this important? When I was researching it and I saw that it was a hormonal system, I thought, well, that sounds good, but I know if I give a man testosterone, what's going to happen is it'll drive up his testosterone when he gets it, but then his body will actually reflexively reduce how much it produces. So it has a negative feedback loop. And so it can, in the long term, have a negative consequence. But that's not the way the endocannabinoid system works. Because it's like an adaptogenic effect and it has this balancing effect, this homeostasis effect, it helps to just balance the activity. So, for example, say you have somebody that has a weak immune system and wants to boost it, a phytocannabinoid will upregulate this system and strengthen their immune system. But you can also have somebody that has an overactive immune system, that has an autoimmune problem, which is very widespread, and it will tend to decrease that. Or I see people where they have high blood pressure, and stimulating the endocannabinoid system will lower their blood pressure. There's actually a whole chapter in my book about cardiovascular health and lowering blood pressure. But I've also seen people where they have low blood pressure, where it raises their blood pressure. So it's an amazing clinical tool because it has this balancing effect. It really ties into chiropractic because our whole approach is to remove interference so the body can work the way it's supposed to literally balance the body through correcting subluxations. And so this is a perfect biochemical tool for that. And then the last thing I want to mention about the endocannabinoid system is the problem with the endogenous cannabinoids is almost all of us are deficient to them. Deficient in them, excuse me. So this wraps back to that, what we were saying before about the history of hemp, that we really are designed to take in these phytocannabinoids, and hemp is the best source of those phytocannabinoids.
Man, you know a lot about this.
I do. I know a little.
You're like, I'm going to go around here before I get to here. I love it. No, I love it. So everyone, here's the thing. If you're in pain, if you would love to get out of pain, and again, we're not saying this is going to, as we all know on the internet land, we have to be careful what we say. Bottom line. But here's the beautiful thing. You have live testimonials next of people that, Dr. Mark has helped change your life. Now, if you're in pain, any type of pain, give Dr. Mark a call. The phone number's on the screen. If you have any questions, you can also put questions on the news feed, on whether in Instagram, whether on Facebook, and Dr. Mark will get back with you, or just keep it simple, call his office. And I just want to say thank you so much, Dr. Mark. We appreciate you and all that you do. I love doctors. I feel that chiropractors they do not get enough credit. And, you've got two types of doctors. I can say this, so it's perfect. You have two types of doctors. You have one type of doctor where you're in pain, whatever type of pain. You walk in, give them your copayment, and they give you a bag with a bunch of pills. Guys, we all know that just patches. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something. What's great about the other type of doctor, which we're talking to, they focus on the most important part of the body. That's the spine. If there's not enough blood flow going and moving, guess what happens? You get pain in those areas. So we need doctors like Dr. Mark. Anyways, thank you all so much. Thank you, Dr. Mark. Sharing is caring. Make sure we all share this, because one video can change one person's life. God bless you all. Thank you, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much.